Episode 1 begins with the premise set in motion as JiDion and a group of people are placed in a social experiment, not fully aware of who among them is hiding their true identity. The idea is simple yet intriguing. One of the players is secretly an undercover cop, and the rest must figure out who it is through interactions, body language, and subtle hints. The atmosphere is lighthearted at first, filled with laughter and casual conversation, but beneath the surface there is a tension because everyone knows deception is at play. JiDion, being the natural entertainer, quickly takes on the role of the instigator, asking bold questions, making humorous accusations, and stirring the pot to keep everyone engaged. His energy draws attention, but it also risks painting a target on his back as others begin to wonder if his over-the-top antics are a distraction from the truth. The contestants share stories about themselves, debating their hobbies, jobs, and personalities. Some answers sound genuine while others feel rehearsed, and the uncertainty makes every laugh and every pause matter. As suspicions rise, alliances form and dissolve within minutes, with people trying to use instinct and gut feeling as their guide. JiDion thrives in this chaos, steering the narrative and making the room buzz with tension and comedy. The first episode concludes on a cliffhanger as the group prepares to vote on who they think the undercover cop might be, leaving viewers eager to see if JiDion's strategy of playing both the fool and the detective will pay off or backfire. Episode 2 picks up with the intensity heightened, as the votes from the first round shake everyone's confidence. Someone gets eliminated based on suspicion, but their reveal causes more confusion rather than clarity. JiDion, sensing the group's uncertainty, pushes harder, pressing people with sharper questions and making outrageous claims to throw others off balance. His humor becomes a weapon, disarming those who might be hiding secrets and making them slip up in conversation. At the same time, the social dynamics shift as players who were quiet earlier begin to assert themselves, challenging JiDion and questioning his motives. Every statement is scrutinized, and every slip of the tongue becomes potential evidence. The tension between being entertaining and being convincing creates a unique rhythm in the room, with laughter masking the growing paranoia. The undercover cop remains calm, blending into the chaos and letting suspicion spread among the others, which makes the game even harder to crack. JiDion's bold personality keeps him at the center of attention, and though some suspect him, others see his behavior as too obvious to be the cop's style. By the middle of the episode, the group feels trapped in circles of doubt, second-guessing every move. Viewers are drawn in by the mix of comedy and suspense, watching JiDion both manipulate and struggle within the game's structure. As the episode ends, the group narrows their suspicions once again, preparing for another vote that could bring them closer to unmasking the undercover cop or further away from the truth. The cliffhanger lingers over whether JiDion's unpredictable approach is helping his team or giving the undercover cop exactly the cover they need. Episode 3 begins with the pressure mounting as the remaining players become more determined to expose the undercover cop. The elimination from the previous round still weighs heavily on the group, as it served as a reminder that one wrong decision can waste valuable chances. JiDion, always aware of how to command attention, decides to shake up the energy in the room by exaggerating his suspicions and pretending to have solved the mystery. His confident demeanor unsettles some of the quieter players, who worry that his influence might sway the group into making another mistake. At the same time, JiDion begins to pay closer attention to the smaller details, noticing when people hesitate before answering, when they avoid eye contact, or when their stories seem inconsistent. He uses his humor to mask his sharp observations, joking around so that people let their guard down, but behind the scenes he is carefully piecing together a picture of who might be hiding something. The undercover cop, however, is equally clever, blending in with the nervous energy of the group, playing innocent, and sometimes even laughing the loudest to avoid suspicion. As the round progresses, arguments start breaking out more openly. One player insists that JiDion himself must be the undercover cop because of how much he dominates the conversation. Another argues that his chaotic style is too obvious to be part of a strategy, and that the real cop is lurking quietly in the background. These conflicting perspectives create a divide, with some siding with JiDion and others seeing him as the biggest threat. JiDion thrives in this conflict, using it as fuel for more outrageous antics, but also carefully watching how people react to the accusations being thrown around. The intensity of the game brings out new sides of the contestants, and the blend of comedy and suspicion keeps the tension high. By the end of the episode, the vote feels more uncertain than ever, and the cliffhanger builds anticipation as the group decides who will be the next to go, with viewers left wondering if JiDion's performance will finally catch up to him. Episode 4 opens with the shocking result of the vote, which stirs up the entire group. The person eliminated leaves behind more questions than answers, causing the suspicion in the room to spread like wildfire. JiDion seizes the opportunity to reset the narrative, turning his attention to those who have been flying under the radar. He argues that the quieter players have had too much space to hide and that the undercover cop must be among them. His bold accusations rattle the group and force people who have avoided attention to defend themselves. This change in focus adds a new layer of drama, as the balance of power shifts away from JiDion being the only center of attention. At the same time, the undercover cop adapts perfectly to the chaos, subtly agreeing with certain points and fueling doubt without ever taking the spotlight. The middle of the episode becomes a clash of personalities, with JiDion pushing harder than ever to expose inconsistencies, while others grow more skeptical of his aggressive approach. His comedy, while entertaining, now starts to look suspicious to some, as they question whether it is just a tactic to keep the truth hidden. The paranoia grows as every laugh, pause, and side comment becomes evidence in someone's theory. The group finds itself trapped in a loop of mistrust, each person desperately trying to prove their innocence while also pointing fingers at someone else. JiDion refuses to let the tension bring him down, leaning into his natural charisma and continuing to entertain while still working behind the scenes to narrow down his suspicions. As the episode reaches its climax, the group is more divided than ever, with multiple people under heavy suspicion and no clear agreement on who the undercover cop might be. The ending once again leaves on a cliffhanger, setting the stage for the next round where the stakes will only grow higher, and the balance between comedy and strategy could finally tip in favor of the undercover cop or the remaining players determined to unmask them. Do you want me to also expand episode 5 and 6 in the same detailed way? Episode 5 begins with the group realizing they are running out of chances to identify the undercover cop, and the tension is thicker than ever. Each round has already cost them valuable players, and the weight of those wrong decisions pushes everyone to be sharper, more suspicious, and more confrontational. JiDion, who has been a central force since the beginning, now feels the pressure of proving his innocence while still maintaining his loud and entertaining personality. His comedic jabs and exaggerated reactions still lighten the mood, but now they carry a double edge. Some players laugh with him while others believe he is using humor to cover up his lies. This creates an atmosphere where every move JiDion makes is under scrutiny, and even his allies begin to question if they have been manipulated all along. The undercover cop takes advantage of this uncertainty, staying composed and carefully playing both sides of the conflict. By blending into the chaos and occasionally siding with JiDion's theories, the cop keeps themselves in a position where no one is completely sure what to believe. As discussions heat up, the group begins diving deeper into inconsistencies in people's stories. Small details that were overlooked in earlier rounds now become key points of suspicion. Someone recalls a moment where another player contradicted themselves, while others point out patterns in behavior that feel rehearsed. JiDion uses this opening to direct the spotlight away from himself, pushing those inconsistencies harder and forcing quieter contestants to defend themselves. This sparks emotional outbursts, as nerves fray and the fear of being wrongly eliminated drives people to argue passionately for their innocence. The game shifts from playful guessing to serious confrontation, with trust in short supply and paranoia taking over. By the end of the round, the group makes a decision that feels crucial, voting someone out in hopes of finally cornering the undercover cop. But the reveal once again delivers more confusion than closure, leaving everyone stunned and frustrated as the mystery deepens. The episode ends with an uneasy silence, each player realizing they are closer to the end but no closer to certainty. Episode 6 picks up immediately with that unease, and the remaining players enter with a mix of determination and exhaustion. Every elimination has only made the undercover cop harder to pinpoint, and the dwindling numbers mean mistakes are more costly than ever. JiDion, sensing the gravity of the moment, leans fully into his instincts, dropping the constant jokes and showing flashes of his serious side. This sudden shift in tone catches the others off guard, as they see him analyzing quietly instead of constantly stirring the pot. The change makes some trust him more, while others see it as yet another layer of deception. The cop, meanwhile, continues to play the long game, carefully aligning with whichever side seems strongest at the moment, never doing too much to stand out. The debates grow even sharper, with people turning on each other at a faster pace. Every hesitation, every nervous laugh, every slip of phrasing becomes ammunition for suspicion. JiDion pushes hard against those who try to keep quiet, insisting that silence is a shield the undercover cop hides behind. His confidence creates friction but also starts to sway some of the group into believing he has a point. Still, there are others who think JiDion himself has been orchestrating the confusion from the very beginning, and the room is split between trusting his instincts and voting him out as a final gamble. The undercover cop sits back as chaos brews, skillfully allowing the others to tear each other apart without ever needing to risk exposure. As the episode builds to its climax, the group prepares for another vote, and the air is heavy with doubt. The decision feels monumental, as the outcome could either finally corner the undercover cop or give them the perfect cover to survive until the end. JiDion's unpredictable blend of charisma, humor, and intensity has kept him alive through every round, but now the spotlight burns brighter than ever, and the suspense hangs over whether his strategy will pay off or collapse at the worst possible moment. The episode closes with yet another cliffhanger, leaving the audience desperate to know if JiDion can outlast the mind games or if the undercover cop's patience and subtlety will triumph.